What's going on, dealerships? Welcome back to Dealership Digest. I'm your host, Chris Paulino, with the ever so awesome Tia Lentini. Today, what are we talking about?
We are talking about the BDC department today.
You down with
Process.
BDC?
Yeah, you know me.
You down with BDC?
Yeah, you know me.
Who's down with BDC?
Yeah, you know me.
Every last dealer. Now, today we're talking about the BDC department, right? Because we need to set those appointments. We need to make sure these customers are turning into leads, conversations for our sales team. So if you don't have a business development center, then are you developing your business?
You are not developing your business. You're staying in the past, especially with all these different avenues that we have to collect leads now. You really need somebody full-time focused on this. I mean, maybe not just one person, maybe a whole team of people, depending on the size of your dealership, but at least one.
Yes, I mean, what is a BDC department, right? If I'm a dealership, I don't have a BDC department. I never thought about getting one. Maybe I know a lot of car dealerships have them. Maybe RV dealers, car or motorcycle boat dealers, maybe they don't have them. If I'm a dealership that doesn't have a BDC department, what is that?
A BDC department is a business development center. So these people are focused on, following up with your internet leads, possibly answering phone ups, live chats, managing your Facebook marketplace. There's all kinds of different things they could be doing. Even social media marketing,
Yeah.
depending on who's available. And all this is to lead to appointments, which lead to sales.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's exactly what it is, right? A BDC department is someone that's developing the business, that's saying, hey, dealership, hey, marketing team, how are we turning these customers that are on our website, that are in our leads, that are generating customer leads, that are on our Facebook, how are we turning these people into customer leads, into conversations for our sales team, right? Because that's their job, is to get the conversation started with someone who's looking at your products, who's looking at your cars, who's looking at your RVs, who's looking at your motorcycles, and then turning them over to a salesperson that's dialed in, that has their sales process down, and that's going to turn that customer lead into a closed deal, right? To me, that's what a business development center is those people that are focused on starting that conversation.
They're mining for you.
Yeah, mining customers, setting appointments for our sales team. They're basically throwing alley-oops, right?
Mm-hmm.
Saying, hey, grabbing the customers out the air, answering the phone, setting the appointment for Johnny the closer, and then setting an appointment. Hey, they come in one today, talk to Johnny the closer, and you're going to buy the car, you're going to buy the RV. Sound fair enough? We'll see you at 1, right?
Good to go.
Right? If it was that easy every call, dealerships would probably sell a lot more units. But it can be if you have the right trained salespeople, if you have the right trained BDC department, if you have killers answering the phone that know how to turn them into hey, I'm looking at your cars online. Hey, I'm looking at your RVs online. Tell me about it, right?
I think, one of the big things with a BDC department and a BDC rep is teaching them how to not sell the unit, but sell the appointment. And for me, the years that I was in BDC, that was something that took me a while to get a hold of. But, whether you're changing your word tracks or you're just learning different rebuttals, it'll come, but you have to work for it. You have to train for it.
Yeah.
It's something that you need to focus on.
Yeah, honestly, that's a perfect and great point to make, because the job of the BDC department is not to sell the unit.
No, not at all. And
Right.
some people, they think it is.
Their job is not, they aren't the ones presenting the numbers. Typically, I guess if you have some weird BDC department at your dealership, they might be, but for the most part, they're not presenting the numbers. They're not asking for the close. They're not going for 5 no's. They might be going for 5 no's in an appointment or something like that, but they're not the actual person closing the customer.
Not at all.
Right? Their job is to close the appointment, because what we know as a RV salesperson, car salesperson, dealership salesperson, is that if I get a qualified lead in the dealership sitting down in my office who I can present numbers to, I can get them to buy. I just need someone sitting in my office listening to some numbers so I can close them on a deal.
For sure. And, the BDC department can provide that.
Yeah.
And, depending on how your BDC is structured, you can have them be the follow up people to get referrals and reviews and, taking some of the weight off the salesperson's shoulders so they can focus on what they're best at, which is selling.
Yeah. And one good thing a BDC department can do, follow up with those old leads, right? Those because what happens as a daily salesperson in the grind, you got the daily walk-ins coming in, you got the phone ringing, you're answering them, you're following up with your hot internet leads from the past 1 to 5 days. But then you get more leads, right? You get more leads, more leads, more leads. And it'd be perfect if you were a salesperson that was so beastly that you were calling so many people that you were truly following up the way you should. But the truth is you only have so much time in your day. If you're taking hour, 2 hours out, 5 hours out because you got 5 customers you just sold, you're not going to be able to follow up with those leads.
No.
You don't have the time.
You need help.
Right?
You need an
So
assist.
if you have that BDC department that's calling for you and calling those leads that are 45 days old that maybe haven't bought a car, an RV, a motorcycle yet, and they can conjure them up and 45, oh yeah, we're actually still in the market for an RV. Oh, can you come in for an appointment today? We're going to set you up with Johnny the closer. And then yeah, we could come in and take a look at some RVs. You set the appointment, you get them with Johnny the closer, he shows them the right unit, closes the deal. Boom, that's business that maybe the salesperson wasn't calling because they're an older lead and they don't have the time, but the business development center came through, set the appointment, got the lead for the sales team, started the conversation so that Johnny the closer could get the deal done.
And in that, efficiency is key. So your department, your BDC department, needs to be structured to be efficient. And that's not something that everybody's doing because, it is fairly new, with the internet leads and, the internet and social media marketing becoming such a big thing.
Yeah.
Some management teams don't know how to structure that. So the more that you, fine tune that department, the more profitable you're going to be, the more happier your sales staff is going to be, the more happier, it's just going to be, it's going to be groovy for everybody.
Yeah. Yeah, grooviness. Yeah, and one thing I think that BDC departments can get in the habit of is they can get stuck into the idea that, all we do is follow up with internet leads, right? Some BDC departments call themselves an internet sales team. I've seen that at some dealerships. But to me, that kind of closes off what a BDC is, right? Because if I'm a BDC rep and I can monitor my, my website's chat that's on, my website chat, and that can conjure up more business than, just calling leads all day, then, maybe I should be calling leads and working on the chat bot.
Exactly. And, we've talked about this in the past, you and I, about you need to make sure you're digging in the right mine for gold. So not spending time in mines that you're not going to find anything. You need to be at these places that are producing hot leads, producing, profitable income for you rather than wasting your time in something because it's traditional or it's, because that's archaic and it's not the thinking you need.
Right. And I think that's how you have to structure your BDC department, right? I think they should be structured in the thought process of, how are we going to generate a lead? How are we going to set an appointment for our sales team, right? Whether that's chatbot, whether that's text messaging campaign, whether that's email campaign, whether that's calling 45 days old leads and older.
And in that, the management team needs to, at least in my opinion, not be micromanaging these people.
Yeah.
You need to give them the creative freedom to do what, they know is best to get you the results that you want. And with the millennial staff, they're going to have ideas, maybe seasoned management teams or salespeople aren't going to have. So you need to let them run with that because in the end, it's just going to help you.
Yeah, because imagine this, though. Imagine this, because this is actually kind of funny to think about. I'm sitting over here kind of like smiling and chuckling because I just think about this. Like, you have a GM, typically they're older, seasoned veterans in the game, which makes sense, right? But imagine you're a GM that hires a young BDC team and they say, hey, GM, we're going to make a TikTok. And the GM's like, no, you're not. You're not doing that.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, well, wait a minute. You're a baby boomer, maybe. I don't know. And nothing against baby boomers.
Not at all.
I'm not digging on anyone here, but my point is this. If you hire a millennial to do some BDC for your dealership, give them some freedom to do the BDC in the way that they know how to do it. And in addition, millennials, they're becoming a big part of the customer market. Millennials know how to market to millennials better because, well, they're our generation, right? So
Yeah.
you got to give them some freedom. Stop micromanaging them. Let them do some of these out of the box thinking things that they want to do, because you never know. It could generate you more leads and more conversations than some of the traditional stuff you've been nailing for the last 40 years.
And branding. I know we've talked about this before in past shows, but a video I did for, Ron Marhofer Hyundai a long time ago on YouTube ended up getting like 157,000 views. And although, they didn't see the value back then, now they're understanding it because the ROI is there. Even
Yeah.
though it wasn't, strictly appointments at that time, it built up over time. And now they have that piece on the internet that gets them at the top of
Yeah.
Google, that gets people like thinking that they, care about their customers. They want them to know how to utilize their Bluetooths and stuff like that. So it builds the brand.
Yeah. And I'd be curious to go back and see and maybe look at the YouTube channel there and say, hey, have they created more videos with the same feel to generate this much more views after you stop doing the videos? I'm not sure if they have or they haven't.
From what I've seen, my videos are the last videos on their channel. And, that was
Think
a
about
long
that.
time ago, like 5 years, 6 years,
5
something
years
like that.
ago, you got a video getting you over 100,000 views on YouTube, and no one thinks it's a good idea to, hey, maybe we should do the next video about, this Hyundai and this feature and that feature, and do, it's just like what, and that's the thing, right? Business development. We have to be thinking, and that's what they're there for. Thinking, how are we going to develop the business? How are we going to get more eyeballs, more customers looking at our products, visiting our websites, putting in a customer lead so that they can come in and start that conversation.
And I think opening up to that is huge because so many people get stuck on this just be on the phones all day, like,
Yeah.
meat grinder type things. But if you give your BDC department a little bit of freedom to do something else creative, it gets the juices going, they get energized from it, and it's helping you in the long run and even short term anyway. So I would just suggest letting them do it and seeing the results.
Yeah. And that's the idea, right? The BDC process should be, hey, how are we as a BDC department going to generate the lead? And then how are we efficiently going to pass that lead on to a salesperson, pass that appointment, set the appointment, so that that salesperson can close the deal today, right? Because if we pass a lead to a salesperson, but maybe we don't warm up the lead to buy today, or we could be doing a little bit more to set up my salesperson. Well, how does that process look? How are we looking at how we're dealing with these customers to make sure it's most efficient from A all the way to Z?
For sure. And, with the BDC sales process, at least in my experience, like when somebody puts in a lead, you can't wait 20 minutes to call them. You need to call them now.
Now.
Now. Yes, now.
Now. Turn my mic up. Now.
And, with that, sometimes, you're on the phone with one client, you have another live chat going on. You need to be able to go to a salesperson, at least in my opinion, or another BDC team member and be like, hey, I need some help with this. And that's why I'm all for BDC people and salespeople working together as a team rather than, focused on their sole commissions. And, it all goes back to management and pay
For
structure
sure.
and pay plan and all that stuff. But
Yeah.
you definitely want to make sure that your teams are able to work together and their sales process is intertwined rather than separate, at least in my opinion.
Yeah. And if I'm a BDC rep, I'm telling them, like, hey, listen, the way we do business is we like to make sure we find you a vehicle, an RV that's right for you. So come in, sit down with one of our trained, RV consultants, car specialists, whatever you're called, and let them find a vehicle that's right for you. If they find the perfect RV, a perfect car at the right price, you're going to buy it. If they don't, then we wouldn't even ask you to buy a car or an RV today because we don't have the right product for you. Does that sound fair enough?
Yeah, it does. I'll be right in.
Okay, great. 1 or 2. When are you coming in, right?
2 o'clock.
So if you're a BDC rep, you see what I did there. I set it up like, hey, listen, if we find the right car at the right price, you're buying it today, right? So when are you coming in, 1 or 2?
For sure. And, you're not always going to have customers that go for that. There's going to be people, well, I want to know if you have the EXL with the navigation package and da da da. That's where you can work with a salesperson, be like, you know what, I'm not entirely the expert on that. Let me hand the phone over to Johnny and, he'll walk you through everything.
Yeah, because then when you turn that call over to Johnny and Johnny says, "Oh yeah, we have that, we have this, we can order it, we can whatever," or "Oh no, we don't have that, but we have a comparable product that actually beats that product out of the water. Come in, test drive it. Come in, take a look at this RV floor plan because it's even better than one that you're talking about, right?" Well, however they're gonna spin it, that's what salespeople do. They talk to that customer, they get the appointment set. If you can't get it set, turn it over to a salesperson and see if they can get it set.
For sure. And something, at least in my past experience, that customers didn't like was when I qualified them, I did all the footwork before they got in the dealership. And when they walked in, I just, well, here's Johnny. This is who you're going to be working with. And now all of a sudden their guard's back up. They're like, well, I've been working with you, Tia. So why am I going to Johnny? And
Yeah.
it just, it just doesn't work. It's not smooth.
That goes back to the whole idea that, hey, it's not our job to sell the unit, right? It's our job to set the appointment. Because that's, that is frustrating as a customer. And this is, we've all heard of the game telephone. If our customer tells us X, Y, and Z, they tell us what they want, need, if you qualify them, interview them the proper way, they tell you 20 minutes deep all this information, and now they get to the dealership, you're not going to be able to pass that info to them, you know what I mean? It's telephone. So now they got to explain the last 20 minutes that they just told you to the salesperson.
Yeah, and on top of that, you're interfering with the salesperson's process, their own sales process.
Yeah.
So now it's just a jumbled mess and it doesn't work, and I wouldn't recommend it.
Exactly. So that's why it's important for the BDC team to know their process, know their job, get the lead, set the appointment, generate conversations for your sales team. Don't sell products, don't talk prices, don't talk features and benefits. It's not your job to do that. Your salespeople have to do that. It's your job to set that appointment, get them in the door, get the customer lead that's 45 days old to answer the phone and to come in today because they haven't bought anything yet. That's your job as a business development rep, is to develop the business, get the leads and get the conversation started, and then it's the sales team's job to close the deal. If they can't close the deal once the BDC creates that conversation, well, now we have a sales problem. We don't have a marketing BDC problem. We have a sales problem, and now we have to address our sales process. But like you said, we need to make sure we know what the BDC process is and how it ties in with the sales process so that they can work together.
Yeah. And, at least with the BDC department, they can always ask for an assist from a manager, from a salesperson. Like, that's something that you don't be afraid to do that, because they're there to help you. They should want to help you at least, because it helps them.
Yeah, and like you said earlier, that's strong. When you can say, I'm a BDC rep, I don't have all the information, let me pass you to a salesman. Salesman answers all the questions, still can't get the appointment. Oh, well, hey, let me pass you to my sales manager. Maybe the sales manager can say something a little different that gets them in. Or maybe they feel better because they're talking to a manager now and he promises them something that, they're going to deliver on as a dealer. I'm not saying don't deliver, but turning it over to multiple people is a good thing.
Yeah. And, the sales manager might have information that you don't have as a BDC sales rep.
And they have power you don't
And power, yeah, power.
Right? They can tell you, hey, listen, I'll get you $20 off that payment if you come in today, where the salesman can't necessarily truly say that.
Or you live 2 hours away, you know what, I'm going to give you a gas card,
Yeah.
and I'll buy your lunch.
Yeah, see?
I don't know many BDC reps that can do that.
Right. That's a good point. So, listen, Dealership Digest, we're talking about your BDC process. We're talking about how to sell more units, how to set more appointments, how to sell more at your dealership. And that's what we're talking about weekly, aren't we, Tia?
We are. We definitely are.
So keep tuning back into Dealership Digest, where we're going to help you grow your dealership for the digital age. And we'll see you on the next one. Hey, thanks for joining Tia and I here on Dealership Digest, where we're going to talk about how to sell more units at your dealership than ever before.
If you'd like to see more of us, subscribe to our YouTube channel and like our Facebook page.
And if you need training for your dealership, visit us online at imr.training.
or infiniteMediaResources.com.